this computer. Let's see what this does. So, and now I will share my screen.
Perfect.
Okay. Okay, so you know what a chatbot is? I just took the definition from Wikipedia, which said, well, it's a computer program which conducts a conversation via auditory or textual methods. We know Siri and Alexa and Google Home at one side, and then you have the textual methods who are using platforms like Messenger or Slack to have these chatbots.
Mm-hmm.
So in essence, it's chat, and it's a bot, it's a robot, which lives on platforms like you have Skype, Slack, Messenger, Telegram, WeChat, which is really used in China.
Mm-hmm.
And where I think that Mr. Zuckerberg is heading to, because I don't know if you know WeChat, or did you use WeChat already?
I have not, but
Okay.
I've heard about it. Not too familiar with it at all.
Okay. So this is Eliza that I talked to you about. So I don't know what age you are, but because people who are born after 80s, they don't know these kind of screens anymore.
I was born in the 70s, so.
All right. Well, you don't look that old, I need to say, Jordan. So you know these screens. So this is a screen.
My first computer was a WAS edition Apple IIgs. I think that was 1983 or 84. So.
Okay. Yeah. So you were already an Apple wizard. So you shifted from Apple to Android then,
Yeah.
if I understand well. So, but this was Eliza, and I remember that I had her on a floppy disk, and I put that into the computer. And well, the conversation you had with computers was very straightforward. You just said change directory to Word, and then you said Word, and it started Word, and you started working into these kind of programs. So that was the only thing that you talked to a computer. And then Eliza came as a computer program, which was on the prompt. And as you see, if you put on the diskette, then Eliza said, please type in all caps, what's your name, dear? You said, so it's Amit here who put his name. And then Eliza talked back, hi, I'm Eliza, what do you want to talk about? And it was a whole chat conversation that started up.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a psychologist called Weizenbaum who did an experiment with that, because it was a little bit based on the Alan Turing test, in the 50s when computers came up. Turing said, well, when will computers be that intelligent that people will not know the difference anymore if they are talking to a person than to a computer? And the experiment resulted in some findings that were astonishing for psychologists. And the one was that people really soon thought that they were talking to a person. So some people were looking after the computer to see if somebody was typing. But the second thing, which was even more astonishing, was the fact that people told a lot to Eliza. So they really told intimate things. They even told more than they should tell their psychologist. So this was something that was really amazing, that they said, well, apparently there's some trust and there's some distance, but there's also some trust that you can talk freely to a bot like that. So I was really surprised at that time. And then afterwards, I became an HR person. Afterwards, I went as a consultant. And 2 years ago, I think, or almost 2 years ago, when Zuckerberg launched his chatbot ID, I saw that he was picking up that same idea of getting automatic conversations with some people. So that's when it triggered me and said, well, I want to do something with that. So I don't know if you know the movie Her.
I've wanted to watch it. I haven't seen it yet, but we talk about it often in the office.
Yeah, I will spoil the movie a little bit now, because this is a conversation that Theodore the principal actor is having with Samantha, which is an operating system which he falls in love with.
Right.
And you see that at a certain moment in time, he understands that she's talking to a lot of more people than he alone. And this is so, I will go maybe back to the conversation again, because this is for me what it really, if you talk to a person and you say the movie is about a person who gets in love with his operating system, they say, oh, you're nuts, it's not possible. But if you see the movie, you're really triggered through all the process that he gets attached to that bot, to that chatbot. Okay, it's Scarlett Johansson's voice, so it kind of attaches you a little bit more, I think, than an other bot. But in essence, it really says that you can get a feeling, you get a one-to-one feeling if you're talking to a bot like Alexa or like Zoom.ai, dummy bot, my how I call my Zoom.ai bot. And for companies, it's very interesting because it gives a one-to-N impact. So you can talk with 8,400 and so on people at the same time, but you give them the feeling that apparently they have a one-to-one feeling. And this is so important. That's why I think that chatbots are very likely to succeed, because people like to chat. I see that with my children.
Even in my own experience, since I recently joined Zoom, I've noticed previous when I would book meetings in maybe using Outlook or something. Before it was, I go select people attending the meeting, send it out for a WebEx for 7 or 8 people, and they accept or they don't accept, or I don't hear back or I hear back, whatever. There was no feeling of booking that meeting. But now and to your exact point, now when I chat it to my assistant, and then it responds to me, hey, no problem, I'll take care of that. I know every morning in my morning briefing who has or hasn't accepted that invite. And I know on the back end, my assistant's working for me, and I can ask actions about that meeting after the fact. Even though I know it's a robot, it still gives me a sense of, it's just like going to ask another person. And to the second point that you had, it's not a one-to-one, it's a one-to-N. So scalability is massive. They can have 10,000, 100,000 conversations with employees, and in all different ways. I may ask differently than you do, but at the end of the day, it still understands what we're both trying to accomplish.
Yeah. So it's so powerful, and that's also, I think, what Zuckerberg saw, and that he says, well, since we like to talk to people, like to our friends, that's what we want to do also with companies, because we want to be helped very fast. If you call a friend or message a friend directly, you get a response. That's what companies should do also. And we really don't want to install a new app, because there is some vision about this.
App overload?
Yeah. So this is the roadmap of Facebook. I have 3 daughters. I have a daughter of 19 years old, 17 years old, and 12 years old. They are laughing with their daddy when he posts things on Facebook, because they don't live on Facebook anymore. They're already in the second phase of Facebook, being on Messenger. They live on Messenger or WhatsApp, but mine live on Messenger and Instagram. That's what they do. They post pictures all the time, and they also are in groups. This is also something that I see that is very important to them. And as you may know, Facebook is also moving into that direction with Facebook Work Group, which is the Microsoft Teams competitor or the Slack competitor. And I really also believe in it. I use it also with a person with which I work together to launch chatbots. We use that platform. And it's so easy because we know how Facebook Groups is working. So I see it with my children. They know that interface. They know the way it works. So for them, it's really a small step to go to Facebook Work Group. And by doing this, Facebook will become also into the corporate environment. Also being very smart in giving me a second profile, because my Facebook personal profile is there, but now I have a Facebook work group profile.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in future they will try to merge these two, because that's also how I'm a being at my work and in private, but I'm still one being. So
Of course,
getting
yeah.
that diversification is maybe something that sounds very logical, but to me it does not really sound very logical.
I think I have to clean up before that happens. I have to clean up some Facebook things from about 8 years ago on there when
That's for sure.
we all didn't know what Facebook was. I'm sure there's
Yeah,
some old photos in there, but no,
yeah,
you're absolutely right. And I think people are way more conscious of that these
yeah.
days. The merging of technologies is just inevitable. Of your work and personal become one and the same eventually. It's just how do you manage that accordingly?
Yeah. So, and where they are heading now with the chatbots is more to the connectivity, because they want you to be 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on their platform, because the more time you spend on their platform, the more they can sell to you. That's also something that is behind it. And I also see it with my, yeah. I also see it with my daughters. I have a Google device, a Google router, and I can block internet, for instance, to a certain device. And I once did that at 11 o'clock in the evening. And very fast, the eldest came from her chamber, and she said, Daddy, what happened? The internet just collapsed. And I said, you don't have to be on the internet now, you have to be in bed. So this shows that they're always connected. They want to be always connected, and that's also something that Facebook wants. It's always available also in your pocket. I get a lot of questions of corporate corporations who said, well, Chatbot is very nice, but I want it on my website. And I say, no, you don't have to have it on your website, because people tend not to be on your website anymore. They are on Messenger, they are on their mobile phones. That's where you want to be. You don't want to be on a desktop. There is an enormous app fatigue. I did a test now because I just did an upgrade to iPhone 7, and I did not reinstall a backup. I just started from scratch, and every time I needed an app, I said, okay, I will install an app because I had hundreds of apps on my former iPhone. I need to say that apparently there are still some more than 7 to 10 apps, but if I look what I use daily, it's more in the 3 to 4 apps a day that I'm using.
Right.
But there's one app that still is used very much, and that's Messenger or Snapchat or the Facebook or the Instagram app. These are apps that are still downloaded. And the nice picture below shows where we are heading. We are heading from websites which we addresses with the browser to smartphones, mobile phones that we used with apps. And now we are really shifting to the messaging where bots are king. Let's say that they will be king.
Yeah.
This is such a nice picture about WeChat. I did not know about WeChat before I worked for Atlas Copco, which is a huge company.
Okay. I know Atlas Copco.
Okay. We were in Stockholm for a workshop about customer experience and customer journeys. And there was one Chinese guy in the room with American and European managers. And we were talking about Facebook ads and about websites and about Google and Facebook. And he said, well, we don't know Facebook in China. We don't know Google in China. And he said, well, we do WeChat and we need QR codes. And we said, why the hell do you need QR codes? And he just explained it to us, because I asked him to do a short introduction on WeChat. And I was really blown away by the power of that tool. So WeChat, just the messenger, it's the messenger app with the messenger and the conversational user interface. And they do everything in that. So where we as Americans...
That's basically where they live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they pay with it. They do everything with it. And since Chinese people, they have a very difficult language to type. They don't like typing. that's why they need why they use QR codes to. So if you want to connect with them, you just show your QR code and you scan it, and that's also a function that Facebook is using now, but that many don't know how to use. If you go to,
I scanned a QR code yesterday, and I had to Google how to scan a QR code.
yeah, but
So,
for instance, if you go to, I can show it here. If you see this interface of Messenger,
yeah,
on the people side, you have scan code, and there it is.
yeah.
And this is my code. So it's a little bit buried into Messenger, but with this code, if you would scan this code, you would directly be in conversation on Messenger with me. So if you put this, for instance, on your, I have this on my business card. I have a business card. I will show it in
And
1 minute.
that's through Messenger.
That's through Messenger, and it really starts a conversation. So every Messenger chatbot that you make has also such a code. So it means that and I will show you, I have a card. So I need to find it now. So this is my business card.
Yeah.
And then I have put this code, and this is the code to my chatbot. So if people scan this with their Messenger app, and it's very easy, you just tap on the button of taking a picture with your Messenger app, and you point with your finger on the screen. It just focuses on. So maybe you could really, I don't know if it works.
I want to see if I can do it through the screen.
Yeah, let's see.
So I'm in I'm in my Messenger app.
Yeah, you click on the camera function.
Okay, I'm in selfie mode. Hold on. There we go.
And then you try to take a picture, and you just focus with your finger on the picture. That's how it works on an iPhone. And it should show you the circle in which you can scan it. I don't know if it's.
You got to hold it down a little more.
That, like that?
No, downward. It's sorry. Hold. No, that's too close. I have to move the. There we go. There we go. Hold on. I want to see if I can do this. Trying. Just it seems like it's thinking.
Okay. Maybe the resolution on the screen is not. It should be on paper or.
Yeah.
No, it works on. However, just that's. There are not a lot of people who knows how it works. So it means that Messenger or that Facebook has to do some marketing about it, I think. But can you imagine that you see on a PAN card, you come in a company, and you just see that code, you just scans it, and you start to talk with a chatbot. So for instance, you could make the code meet me. So it would be the code, and it just starts the bot, the Zoom.ai bot to make a meeting. That's the idea behind it.
And what a great way, even for onboarding a new employee. You get here. Here's whatever messenger that you're on. Let's say it is Facebook Messenger for business, and they scan it. That's their first interaction with the organization. You know, you walk in the door, you scan it. Your assistant helps you onboard on your very first day. You know, there's so many different brainstorms you can have with it. It's incredible.
It's incredible, and I don't know why HR departments don't start using it, because it's like you said, you can program your bots, your chatbot as your onboarding bot, and you give it a name. Because there also, what I see, I have Alexa at home, and I also have Google Home, and I think Google did a bad choice of not choosing a name for their bots. Because when I'm talking to Alexa, it's just I'm talking to a person. It's like I'm talking to a person. When I talk to Google, I say, "Okay, Google." It's just so impersonal. So just by, and was also what you are doing, you name the bots. I can name mine, I name it dummy bot. And that's so important that people think, even if it's a bot, having a name to a bot makes it more personal, in a way.
I agree.
Okay. You also notice that apps are very expensive to build, difficult to market. It takes up space on your smartphone. It requires updates. You need to put it on several platforms. Whereas you have chatbots or bots, they are inexpensive to build, very easy to share, no downloads, auto updating, cross-platform. You don't have to bother. When I make my bot, I don't have to bother if it lives on Android or on iOS. It just works on the Messenger app.
Mm-hmm.
These are my three daughters, and they all three have Gmail. And I don't know, do you have children, Jordan?
I do not. I have 2 Chihuahuas, but you have some beautiful children.
Well, if you have three children, I always do, when I do this keynote, I always ask in the room who has three children, and
I should also say my Chihuahuas have their own Instagram page, so my Chihuahuas are digital too.
Okay. So when I'm asking in the room when I give my keynote, how many people do have three children? There are all 10 people who answer, yes, we have three. And then I ask the second one, how is she or how is he? And they always say the same, well, this is the rebel, this is the guy who doesn't bother about anything, who goes his way or goes her way. You see it already on this picture also. She's really, they are all three very sweet, but she's the lady who just gets away with anything, and she just arranges everything. And so we had some problems at school with her, even if she's smart enough. And we said, well, my wife is a psychologist too, and we said, well, we will make a psychology contract with her, and saying, okay, if you do good at school, well, we want you to do it good at school, and if you do well at school, well, you can go to your boyfriend, you can do this and that. So like a contracting thing. And my wife, she typed it on Word, and then she sent it by email to Lena. And she never responded to it. And she was very upset, my wife. She said, oh my God, you see, she's rebelling, and she just laughing with us, not responding to our email. And I just went to her and asked, Elena, how does it come that you did not reply? And she said, how did you send that? I said, by email. Oh, Daddy, it's already 6 months that I checked my email. I don't do email. If you want to talk with me, it's with Facebook. It's through Facebook Messenger.
Right.
And that's how I got pushed into Messenger, because I'm not a messaging person either, but she pushed me into Messenger. And I see how she uses it. And if I want to know something from her, if I go on Messenger and I ask her something, within 5 seconds, I get a response.
Right.
That's also what she expects from me, which is much harder, because when I'm at the client, I said, Lena, I'm at the client. She doesn't understand. She said, Daddy, I ask you a question, you have to answer. And that's what I do also. If you ask me a question, I just answer. So, and the little one, maybe she will go on Slack or whatever system, but she definitely will not use email anymore. That's just
gone.
And it's because people like that conversational thing. It's just so human to have that conversation. If you look, I don't know how it is in Canada, but in Belgium, many people have many banks. So I'm at 3 banks. So this means that I have 3 apps to do some transfers. And those 3 apps have a different user interface. They work almost the same, but different. It makes it very hard for me.
I have 2. Which drives me crazy sometimes.
Yeah. So I here in Belgium, they're now trying to do projects that you could do a transfer with the app you prefer to whatever bank, which is very stupid, because I say, well, I don't want an app. I want to do like in WeChat, because in WeChat, the Chinese guy, he explained me, he said, you know how we transfer money? It's very easy. We say, just transfer $100 to Jordan. And in the back end, they look if I'm the guy, they look if I have the money, and they look if you're the guy who can get money. And that's the only thing that I have to say. If I could go to the other bank, I just do the same. I say transfer $100 to Jordan. It's like with it's so easy now for me to plan meetings. I just say plan meeting with Jordan, and that's all. That's
Right.
the only thing that I have to do. So it's so easy, and that's what an end user. As a psychologist, I always think, what does it mean to the end user? That's what he prefers. So because it's so simple.
And whether you're transferring money, scheduling a meeting, um, searching for a flight, making reservations at a restaurant, um, it's all assisting you. You know, I mean, we talk about what we're doing for the executive assistant. You know, are we doing the money transfer part? No, not yet. I don't know if the Canadian banks would like that so much. Maybe the American ones. Sounds like the Chinese banks are open to that. But no matter what the activity is, your consistent message, and it's absolutely 100% correct, is the new UI is chat. And everybody wants it, and everybody wants delivered in their life an easier way to do things, which is why we're focused on, you know, that enterprise, large enterprise, medium-sized enterprise. How can you impact it with that one to N relationship? But then give people that peace of mind on getting them out of their apps. Like you said, I don't want 2, 3 apps from my banking. I don't even want one app for my banking. But if I could chat it and it's just connected and I live my life in a chat environment, it's what we want out of our daily process.
Yeah. No, it's what you say, and it's so powerful. And if you think further, then you know that this will survive. There is no. I don't have much hair anymore, but there is no hair on my head who says, "Well, this will not survive." It's where we are going through, because it will be pushed through it. You can use chatbots for many things, and okay, this was a keynote about training, and I said, well, you could use it in training purposes. I prefer Messenger, and that's maybe one reason why banks do not want to jump on that one, because banks know if they would do it through Messenger, well, they just pass all that information to Facebook, and Facebook is already that powerful. So
Right.
this would mean, but they were a little bit stuck, because they could say, well, that's good, we will make our own messaging platform as a bank. But then again, we don't want these things. It's even with Messenger and WhatsApp. um, Even Facebook is stuck with both platforms, and they want to move to one platform. They will kick out WhatsApp. They want it. They want all people to go on Messenger. They don't want you to go on WhatsApp. I don't know how they will manage it, because it's the end user who prefers. And I see here in Belgium, for instance, that you have people who prefer WhatsApp, and you have people who prefer Messenger.
Mm-hmm.
However, I found it very embarrassing that I have 2 messaging apps, because then I say, oh my God, yes, he's on a WhatsApp, he's not on Messenger. So you feel that people at a certain moment in time, they will choose, and the power will be Messenger for sure.
I hope so. It'll get, and I have some groups with some friends that live, you know, all over North America, and to stay in touch, we just have a group chat, you know, and we're all, you know, in and around 40. And we only use WhatsApp only because a few of the guys from the beginning of time refused to get Facebook. They were like, "Oh, I don't need to waste my time with that. I don't want to get consumed with that." The problem is they all have my username and password, and I see them logging in all the time using my Facebook just to keep up with people. And I keep asking them, like, just go get your own account. They said,
Yeah.
no, you're already connected with everybody, so why would I go use someone else's? Basically, I would end up chatting with myself.
Well, it's so funny that they are against Facebook, because apps, when WhatsApp was bought by Facebook, then what is the problem? They just,
Right.
you're just on that platform also. So I understand that people get a little bit frustrated about that and the power of it. However, I saw some. I have an anecdote about that. A good friend of my wife died, and all the friends were scattered all over Belgium. And the only way to communicate was, or not the only way, but they decided to communicate through Facebook, because everybody was on Facebook. But there was one guy, the best friend of the guy who died, who did, and by principle, he said, I don't want to be on Facebook, and I never will go on Facebook. But he just excluded him from the community that mourned about the guy and tried to prepare his funeral. And he did what you mentioned. He asked his wife, who was on Facebook, to use that profile to be in the community. And then he understood, oh my God, if everybody is on Facebook and I'm not on Facebook, I'm just doing myself wrong. I'm just and I know that Facebook can misuse all data and things like that, but there is always a very good part of it, and that's where
I completely agree. It's like saying in 1970, because I get spam phone calls, I'm not going to install a telephone. You know, you get a telephone, you communicate, and then you have to.
Yeah, and then you find ways that you are not spammed or whatever.
Right.
And this is now maybe a very important slide to show the difference between what you guys are doing and what I try to accomplish, because it's the same and not the same. Because my chatbots are more rule-based and not artificial intelligence driven. It's more about conversations and building conversations with platforms like ManyChat and ChatFuel. I don't know if you know these platforms, but these are kind of WordPress-like platforms to build your bots in a very engaging way. But you have a lot of other artificial intelligence driven bots. And I need to say that I was a little bit, as a psychologist, I see that there is a lot of work still to do. And maybe there, Facebook also trapped itself a little bit, because when they were launching the first chatbots, they say, well, we have a technology, you can ask whatever you want, you will get answers to whatever you have asked, which is not true. And because a bot has very big problems for the moment with contexts, because when we are talking, when I shift now to football, well, you just shift your context and we can talk further. For a bot, it's very hard, because that's why Zoom.ai is so interesting, because you just ask about meetings. That's what you're, and about flights. But even there, if you start building other contexts, it becomes very hard, I think, for a bot to understand what you're talking about, and to have, if I go back to a conversation, to something that I have asked three minutes before, you know what I'm talking about, but for a bot, it's much harder to find out. And that's where I see that Zoom.ai sometimes misses out, and you say, okay, but you know that I was not available, and now you ask it again. So, but I know it's a hard part.
Yeah, I think that's part of the process, and we actually had a meeting about that today on having more ML intent-driven corrections into the NLP, and finding ways to basically track and trace those steps along that user's path on, hey, what were you just talking about? And if I change direction, can I get back there?
Yeah. Okay, and that's the reason why I said when you go to a bot, and that's what happened, I think, 1 year ago, and then the bot said, I don't understand. If a bot says, I don't understand 3 times in a row, then you just say, well, it's crap. I don't want to talk with bots. And that's so fundamentally wrong, because you can really have very great experiences with bots if you program them in a good way. And this is also, if you marketing-wise, if you look to what you can do with chat and what you could do with email, these are open rates that are just available on the internet. If you go to MailChimp, they will tell you that the open rate is 20 to 25%, and the click-through rate, the call to action, is 3 to 4%. When I look to my bots, I have even bigger open rates, to 90%. And what is astonishing is the click-through rate and the call to action. When I'm asking my bots for details, personal details, for instance, people tend to answer much more, because it's in a conversation. And you don't ask directly. It's like going out with a wife or a woman. You just don't ask directly, do you want to marry me? But you start conversing, and then at a certain moment in time, you can ask some things, and you're more likely to get a response than if you do it in one shot. And that's what you do with email. You just do it in one shot, because they forget about the fact that you could say, okay, we do drip marketing, that since we are so overwhelmed with email, we just forget about the whole conversation, which is not true in Messenger, because you have your whole flow into that conversation.
I don't know if you follow Gary V at all, Gary Vaynerchuk, but
Yeah.
you know that's the exact jab, 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 right hook. You know, what am I giving ahead of time? And to your point, chatting allows that user to have that. You know, it's like they feel like they're getting something out of a actual conversation versus here's an email. I want you to do something. Well, you haven't given me anything yet.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, those numbers on click-through rates are absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And Chatfield, for instance, they did a very smart thing. So Chatfield is a platform, and they have a chatbot which frequently asks question chatbot. And at a certain moment in time, I get a question from the bot. Say, hello, it's me. I say, hello. And the chatbot asks, can I ask you a question? That's already a whole other story than just dripping into my mailbox. It's just, can I ask you a question? Yes, I said. Well, we are thinking about a new functionality, and we think we can do it in way A or in way B. What would you prefer? I said, well, I would prefer way A. Okay, thank you for that. We have another question. Can we disturb you for another minute? Yes, not a problem. And they just asked me 3 questions about the functionality, and they said, well, Dominique, thank you very much. We know enough. Thank you for your time. This was so amazing because I just gave them that information. They could have sent an email to me asking, okay, we have a new functionality. What do you think about it? I would never have responded to it.
No.
And that's also very powerful. The fact that 24 hours, 7 days a week you're available, that's also, we live in micro moments. We are just waiting at the groceries, or we are just waiting for the train, and we are just on our phone. So you could really chunk informations into Messenger. People can go back. It's so easy. So this is also something very valuable for marketeers, that they can make use of these micro moments and really have these snips of information. So what's Zoom.ai also doing? At a certain moment in time, you say, well, we have a hint, we have a tip. And I think this explains everything. This is what a main box, I think, looks like from a person. 13,000 unopened emails, and then your email just drops in. You know, sometimes I call people and I say, I just sent you an email. Would you please reply to it? Just to make sure that the guy is reading the email.
Right.
So far, it has gone. Versus, and then you see Klaar is the name of my wife. She just said, Klaar, send a photo. Me not pushing that button would be ridiculous. I want to see that picture. I want to see that. And that's how we work also with chatbots. The first thing that we send is always a picture. It's always that it's more engaging, or a movie or whatever, and you want to see that. So this makes it that your click-through rate is almost 100%. People who said, I don't want to see that picture, I don't know many people, because it's my wife. I know what she is showing to me is just something that I will like, because
Right.
it's my. This is also very important. Messenger is a friend platform. So if you can be there as a company, this is so powerful, but also very difficult, because if you spoil it, then you're just wiped away. So you need to be very careful in how you use that platform. But I'm sure that if you use it in a very engaging and proper way, people will like you as a company and will admit you. I have from friends who said, but Dominique, you see these numbers, 13,000. Well, in Messenger, you will have the same shit. I say, yes, for sure. But for the moment, it's not the case. So you can read.
I open everything.
Yeah. And it will change. We will change. But for the moment, it's like, you also experienced the moment that you were sending out emails. Sometimes the email was already answered before I sent it, because people, they opened the email and they answered it because they were waiting for it, and it was very, very fun. That has changed, and in Messenger it will also change, but not for now, because like you said, for now everybody opens every Messenger thing. You can target a lot, you can ask people, you can, based on that, do a lot of things. These are the bots that I've developed. Chatbot for Dummies. My daughter, I have a daughter of 12 years old who you saw before. She built her bots in 1 week, and she does a lot of sports. She's exercising 18 hours a week.
Jeez.
So
I
uh,
need I need some of that.
yeah, she does not have any time, because I have some clients who said, yeah, but Dominique, I don't have time, and it is too hard to build my bot. Well, I say, you just compete with my daughter of 12 who has built a bot, and I show the bot. I can show it. I will send it to you also. It's in Dutch, but you will see that it's very engaging. And I need to admit that her bot is much more better than mine, because she's used to that conversational thing
Right.
much more than I am. And she likes it very much, and it's so engaging. She starts with her pictures, she explains what she's doing, and so on. So it's
Amazing.
so that's a little bit what I'm trying to say to corporations. And I say, just start with it, because you can engage so much more. Everybody who comes to my bot says it's very engaging. And that's a little bit what I miss with Zoom.ai. It's very you try to do it more funny now, because I said to the guys also, try to put an emoticon into it, and you need to make more fun, and maybe a picture, just drop a picture into it, because this makes it.
I would say one of my thoughts, and I know it's on our, I hate using the term roadmap, but roadmap, is exactly to your point. You know, if you get stuck, how does the bot take over and help you achieve what it is you wanted to do, but through a conversation? So it knows either to back you out of a stuck situation, instead of saying, I don't know how to do that. It's, were you trying to do this? And you can respond, yes. Okay, then here's some suggestions on how you want to ask me. Was it a group meeting or a WebEx, or, you know, yeah, to your point, some images like that shows that, you know, I've responded to you in a positive way. And, you know, it's just an all-round better experience that way, when you actually feel like you're talking to somebody.
So, okay, what I'm trying to do now is, because I'm a consultant, I'm here at the client premise, and I do some change management. So in essence, I just sell my time, and that's not a very good business model. So I'm trying to look for a scalable one. And I thought with the chatbots I can do so. So what I made now was a checklist. I made a checklist to build your own chatbot on ManyChat, which is a messenger bot. It's a messenger bot on ManyChat, so it's very dedicated. And what I did, I talked to some people. I said, "Oh, Dominique, yes, I'm very interested." I said, "Okay, what is it worth for you?" I said, I don't want to put a lot of." I will close this one. Okay. I don't want to put a lot of money into it. I said, well, it's not so bad for me. You get it for free, the checklist. So I gave it to 36 people, the free checklist. The checklist that my daughter, she did not follow it, but I instruct her based on this checklist what she had to do. And I did not read it for 5 minutes. All the rest she found out herself. So how many people do you think that completed the checklist and completed the bot from those 36? What do you think?
I'd say at least 18.
One.
Really?
Only one person. And the bad thing for me was that there was only one person giving feedback on that checklist, because the guy who went through the steps, he said, Dominique, I don't understand this, or this was not so good explained, or I'm stuck here. So I got a lot of feedback from him. One of the things that once he had his bot, he said to me, what I see is when I'm testing that that you don't have to make more than 2 conversations in the first contact. So it is of no use of making a very large conversation. People drop after 2, they even drop, because it's in a micro moment. And so it's better to have 2 conversations, and then say, we see each other tomorrow, and you come back, and then 2, and then 3, and then more 4. And then at a later stage, you can elaborate more. So it's so valuable information for me. But those 35.
Makes sense though, when you say it that way. It makes total sense. Instead of getting through the whole process, it's
just
a little here, a little sprinkle here over a couple of days, and you achieved what you wanted to do, but you're not consuming someone's time.
Yeah. So I changed a little bit the approach based on I'm fond of Tesla. I drive a Tesla myself. I
Nice.
have a bot. I have a bot who is talking to my Tesla, Alexa. So when I say to Alexa, Alexa, ask Elon, because that's how you address the skill of Alexa. Ask Elon to how much battery is left. Alexa just comes back with the information. Or even more interesting, when it's a very hot day and I want to go out with the car and it's outside the house, so it's 40 degrees Celsius. We use Celsius.
You do too.
Okay. I don't want to go in that car. So in the morning, I just come up and I say, well, Alexa, ask Elon to put my air conditioning on. And 5 minutes later, I just go in a very good air conditioned car.
Nice.
That's what bots do. They just simplify your life. And I have an app. There is a Tesla app, but I need to put my iPhone out of my pocket. I need to open it. I need to click on Tesla app. I need to I need to do 3 or 4 things.
Right.
And I just prefer to talk to Alexa because that's more convenient for me.
Absolutely.
So it's all over what you can do with it. It's you even can. I was on a funeral of a guy who died at 40, who had 2 children, and I was thinking, if the guy should have developed his own bot, telling who he was and what he wanted to do and what his favorite music was, his favorite colors, whatever, that his children, who are now 6 and 7 year old, can go whenever they like and ask it. I was a guy who said, yeah, but Dominique, they can ask their mommy. Yes, but mommy will not be always available. And mommy maybe is too emotional to talk about some things. Maybe there's things that they want to ask their daddy that they don't want to ask their mommy. So there is so much more possibility if you could do things with bots like that. And as a guy who said a bot is impersonal, no, a bot is so personal. It's so personal. You just get it wrong if you think it's so impersonal. It's very personal. However, what I did with my checklist is the following, based on what Elon Musk did. I don't know if you heard about it. People tend to leave their cars parked when they are charging. And this means that when normally it takes 40 minutes max to fully charge your car. But if you go out and eat, the car stays there for 2 hours. So you're just taking place for other people who can charge their car. There was a guy who mentioned that on Twitter, and Elon Musk said, I will do something about that. And in 1 week, he changed the policy and he made it possible that if your car is fully loaded, from that moment on, you will pay 35 euro cents per minute if you stay longer on that parking lot, which is not a parking lot, it's a charging lot.
Charging, yeah.
And he said, I don't want to make money out of that. But by doing so, people, they just left. They said, okay, I don't want to pay $3 or $4 because I'm too late. It's just I will get rid of the car.
Yeah.
So now I changed that to my checklist, and it's very funny. And what I will tell you, maybe you will say it's very contra-intuitive. So what I say now to the person, I said, if I will do the test with you, Jordan. Would you like to make your own chatbot, conversational chatbot?
Yes.
Do you really like to make it? Really?
Do I really like to make it, or do I really want to make one?
Yeah. You really.
I'd really like to make one.
By when would you like to have your bot? By what date?
3 months from now.
Okay, so if you really want something, 3 months, it's even, but 3 months from now is good. Okay.
I have no idea how to put one together, even though I work for a chatbot.
But it's very easy because my daughter of 12 made one in 12 days, in 7 days, so it's not that hard. You will have your bot, and it will not be the perfect bot because you will elaborate on it. You have to learn, you have to teach your bot, but you will have a bot and you will start the process, because otherwise you never will start it. And that is my question, it's a very weird question now. What amount of money will you pay me if you don't get that deadline? So what amount of money will you pay me if you do not get that deadline? Because if you get that deadline, it's zero. You don't have to pay anything.
$100.
Well, $100 is not that really engaging, and you might not be. 1,000. Well, that's if people say 100, say no, that's not 1,000. There are people who said even a bit more. I say okay, 1,000 is fine, because 1,000, if you fail, 1,000 is just, it's an iPhone or 3 Androids, so it just. What happens now is that I have 3 persons who do it in that. They said, Dominique, it's very weird, but what I see is they gave feedback. They put their deadline. There's a lady today who finished her bot. She said, I want it by the 6th of August, and she started in June. So she already finished it. So she knows that she doesn't have to pay 1,000 euro, but she already gave me so much valuable feedback on my checklist. And with Process Street, the tool that I use, I can update my list all the time. So it's updated also for the 35 other people who are still doing it. Now, if you would not make it on that date, what would I do? I would definitely ask the $1,000 or the 1,000 euros, but I will make the bot for you. You will have your bot anyhow, you see, because I can finish your bot in 1 day, but that's not scalable for me.
Right.
Now, this is not my business model. This is the business model to get a very good checklist. And then I will ask you, Jordan, to give feedback, a testimonial, in which you will say, this guy has made a checklist which you have to buy because it just makes your bot in 1 week, and the checklist will cost $99 or $199, whatever.
Right.
And it will stand, it's a scalable thing. So that's what I'm thinking about.
Well, and to that checklist point, for how many, and I've spoken to a couple different enterprise companies at conferences, and and these aren't big, huge enterprise clients, but decent sized mid markets, and we'll present what we've done and show how we book meetings, to our unified search, to what we're doing knowledge base, and how we're working through some machine learning process with that. And I'll get some people that say, oh, we'll just put a hackathon together on the weekend and have our IT team do that. And I'm thinking, so you're going to build a company that just raised 2.1 million on pre-revenue at a hackathon on the weekend? You should stop your entire business right now and just focus on building what we just did. Because how is that even scalable to keep adding enterprise features, build a bot with all the functionality that you require for enterprise over the course of a weekend? But that's just the idea that they thought, well, we can just build it ourselves. Okay, go ahead. And when you can't get there, what are you going to come back to me? So your checklist is positioned perfectly to ask those types of enterprises, how long do you want to do it in, and what would you pay if you don't hit that goal?
That goal, yeah. And it's not the kind of bots that you're making, guys, because your bots are much more intelligent. Because my bot is something conversational. I just make a conversation, and it's like I was a recruiter before, and we had. Okay, well, what you have structured interviewing, and the person in front of you, he thinks that it's an open conversation. No, you just know where you want to go. You ask these questions, and he gets the feeling that it's an open conversation. That's the bots that we are making. You say, okay, I have my CV bot, so I just explain who I am, and I just take you where I want you to be, and I give you some possibilities. I don't want you to type. I just want you to click buttons and say, okay, yes, I want to know. Yes, for sure. Tell me more. And that's also what people like to do. And if you have a question, not a problem, because mainly it's the main questions for a consultant. What is your day price? Well, for that, I have a check. It's not artificial intelligence. It's just keywords. It's just if that is, then I say, well, you want to know my rate? Well, maybe it's a little bit too soon for that. And you can put a lot of personality in your bots. And that's the kind of bots that I want to make. And it's totally different of the assistance bot, but they can live next to each other. So that's the nice thing also, because I just convinced people about chatbots with Zoom.ai. The guy from UHG People, he said, I want to see that guy. And then he thought that I would build that artificial intelligent bot. I said, no, that's not what I do. I'm not interested in that. So he said, what we will do, and tomorrow we have a conference call on that. He said, well, I want to be an innovative company because I know that the staffing business is dead. and is dead because bots will do the stuffing.
There's going to be such a huge. I mean, ever since coming here, I see what that industry is capable of through bots. Not now that I've spent just even 2 months here, and my mind is kind of racing in that world, going, "Wow, there's so much opportunity in the staffing recruiting world when it comes to bots."
Yeah. So what he said is the following. He said, well, what we will do, we will make a competition for all those millennials that they can come with an idea of a bot. And you, Dominic, you provide a checklist to these people. And they come with an idea and they have to pitch. And they say, okay, I want to make a bot that engages with some staffing people. Or I want to make a bot that does something about invoicing, whatever. And they pitch and we take 20 ideas and we let them develop it. And we see what works and what does not work. I say, well, that's great for me because that's scalable for me. It's just 20 times my checklist. And he said, well, Dominic, we will pay you $1,000 for the checklist, whatever. But it's and that's a nice thing. And then he was very interested also for the bot to make meetings, because in these corporations they lose so much time in. I just. Maybe you saw it. I put a screenshot of my agenda because I have a lot of chats like these with people, and I do that all with Zoom. That you know how much I use the tool, so you can see it. So, but it's so amazing. It just costs me nothing of time to follow up, and people. The only thing I ask is, did you get a message from it? Because it could come into the spam folder. And when they say yes and they do not react, then I know how thrown up they are with email, because I know my bot goes after it for 4 times.
Yeah.
So I know that they are really inefficient in a way. So I say, okay, it's your problem. And people who do not react to it, when they have contact once with my bot, they just neglect it 3 times. So maybe it tells something about, do they want to speak to me, whatever, but I don't have to take care.
And it's not only the initial meeting that's the easy part. It's if they have to ever renegotiate that meeting, it's just as simple. It's okay, we have to make an adjustment to the schedule, and there's 4 people on the call. It's still just as easy to do, which is amazing.
One more thing, and then I think you have a little bit more view on what I am doing. And I'm also thinking to make a World Chatbot Day, and I already ordered the domain. So if you go to worldchatbotday.com, that's my domain. We don't know we don't know what we will. Well, we know a little bit what we are doing, and if I say I just follow the course to develop that rule-based bots with Andrew Warner. I don't know if you know Andrew Warner from Mixergy.
The name rings a bell. Maybe I've bumped into him on LinkedIn, or I've seen his name.
Yeah, he's also really fond about bots. And there's a guy from Australia and a guy from also from Canada, I think, and I'm from Belgium. So what we said, well, the 3 of us, we could do a 24-hour meetup summit, chatbot summit, a virtual one. Only we need interesting topics. And I was thinking about Andre and your company. Just you have a slot to come and to present. I don't know how it will work, because we need to you know how this works. You need to have people, and we will have to do some marketing about it. And we are looking just for people who can perform a keynote, which would be virtually. And you can do it at your time, and we will record it, and people will have access to it after it. But the live thing is also so interesting. The fact that you know that I can be in Australia and I have my live session from 8 hours, and then afterwards I go to Europe, and afterwards I go to Canada. We were thinking of that also.
It sounds like it'd be a really, really good thing, especially where everything is today. I mean, it's moving so fast. It's writing its own history at this point between AI and chatbots, and you know, there's no rules to what's going on right now. So doing something like that, I think, would be fantastic.
Well, you know, already we will come back on that. We will still have contacts. I had already some contacts with Andre and your other colleagues. So Problem is time for me, because I'm on a mission now, which I also like working to get with people to change management psychology thing, but that's not scalable. So I need to combine these. But let's see. And for tomorrow, I would like to discuss with you how we will address because I want to bring them as a client to you. The only thing that I'm thinking of now is language, because what I see, and it's the same with chatbots, Facebook is not really multilingual in chatbots. There is not a platform to make it very multilingual. Chatfuel has the same problem. ManyChat has the same problem. It's not like websites where you can clone the format and then you just translate things. So you have to rebuild it all the time.
Yeah,
or
it's
you have
the intent in other languages that becomes the issue.
I don't know how because I can introduce you to the guys, and it's up to you to see how you can manage that. But I can imagine they speak Dutch and French. English is not really the used language, I think, in that company. But if these people talk English, so and
French works fine.
Okay.
So French, English, Spanish. I think we're talking about adding Portuguese, and we just are in our last round of testing on Japanese.
Okay, so that's the only thing I think that could be a stopper or whatever. But
right.
So what I would suggest to you, Jordan, I don't know if you are the person or if it's your business development or somebody else in the company. I thought that you said that you were with corporate and IBM-like companies. I would link you up, and you just take it from there and have a chat with these guys. Or how would you address it? How do you see it?
I'd like to funnel everything through you. It'd be great to set something up, but also make sure that we're partnered in some way.
No, we will. For me, it's just I was already very fortunate to be using your system, and I always think in value afterwards. Let's see how this works out, and then it's up to you guys to decide what you do. To me, it's not my focus. But I when I'm fond of something and when I'm enthusiastic about something, I'm I'm about all over it. So
it seems like you seem to have fully adopted the world of chatbots. So we do really appreciate the lead into those types of organizations. Absolutely. But I would probably be the main point of contact with the organization. Right now at our stage, I always bring in Jesse Alveston. He's our head of client success. He also came from a large enterprise where we just finished our pilot, launching our across the company deployment now. So he left there to come here because he saw the value in what we're doing. So he was crucial in that implementation process initially. So he's really, really strong at helping guide that roadmap, outlining security issues, and working with the engineering team to make sure all those questions are answered. So, the two of us would definitely be there, and that would be perfect.
Perfect. If you have some questions, because maybe also if you could send me some questions that you want to know, because I can ask them already and say, for instance, okay, about how many people are we talking about, what languages, some qualifying questions that you need, you can already send them to me and I can drop them tomorrow already. And then I just want to do it like that. I just will put you into contact with Mr. Petit, and it will be his secretary. I said, we don't want to take your job, but your job will surely change for sure.
It's free their time to do more things.
That's it. So, and then from there on, you take it, and if you keep me updated by in CC or whatever, I will hear it from them also, because it's you that have to sell. I just introduce you, and then you will close the deal. And if it's interesting, because it could be that you say, well, Dominique, it was really not that interesting, and that feedback I would also like to have. There are not that many big corporations in Belgium, so. But every corporation in Belgium has the same issues with meeting management. So
it's consistent to everybody everywhere. So But yeah,
Okay.
I loved your presentation today. I'm glad we recorded it. I look forward. Do you post this on YouTube or?
Well, I could do that if you're open to it.
Yeah. No, I'd love to have. I'd love to have the version
Oh,
of
I will
this. That'd
share
be
it. Yeah, I will surely share it with you, and I will see if I maybe we need to 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 squeeze it a little bit to put it on YouTube.
no problem. Yeah. No,
Okay.
it was great. Well,
Well,
let's be in touch tomorrow. I'm actually at a conference all day. It's the Open Text is doing their Enterprise World tomorrow, so we're part of.
okay.
We're one of the 5 companies selected to pitch at their startup competition. So big awards when it comes to winning some
Mhm.
things at Open Text. There's I think 4,000 attendees. I think it's the largest collection of CTOs and CIOs in North America this week. So it
Okay,
should
it's the
be
place to be.
it
Well,
should be very good. And
well.
it just so happens to be next door to our office, so it's
Okay, that's also nice.
very
But
easy.
maybe check if somebody from USG people is there. It could be that, but I don't know if they are in America or whatever. I don't think so, but just check if somebody from USG people is there. And if you send me these questions, the preliminary questions, I could already address it. And then after tomorrow, I will link you up and we can catch up. And I have Dummybot who if I want to speak to you, I just send Dummybot to you. So
There you go. Perfect.
okay,
I really appreciate it. Thanks.
thank
Have
you.
yourself a great day.
And
I'll talk to you soon.
okay, and greetings to Andre also and the rest of the team.
Absolutely.
Bye
Absolutely. It's great.
bye.
Bye.